My name is Rosa Stevenson. I'm 36 years old, a senior art director at a mid-sized agency, and a divorced mom of two little whirlwinds, Mia, 7, and Theo, 5. I spend my days designing visual identities for brands, and my nights cutting crusts off peanut butter sandwiches, wiping glitter glue off our kitchen table, and trying to make life look a little less chaotic than it really is. I've been the dependable daughter for so long that sometimes I forget what it feels like not to brace for someone else's emergency. It was a cold Tuesday night in December when my mother called. Her voice came through bright and breathless, the hostess tone she uses when she's pretending everything is under control. "We're doing Christmas Eve at our place," she announced. "But honey, your brother is bringing his girlfriend to meet everyone. She's very particular, a minimalist. They're making content for her channel and..." A pause, like she had to prepare the sting. "She doesn't want your kids there. Mia and Theo would ruin the perfect vibe." For a moment, the silence in my apartment was so sharp, it felt like the air thinned. My hand tightened around my phone. My gaze drifted to the microwave clock, 7:42 p.m. Behind me, Mia's construction paper chain hung crookedly across our scuffed bookshelf. Theo was asleep on the couch in dinosaur pajamas, cookie crumbs stuck to his lip. That was our life. Messy, loud, real. "Just be flexible for once, Rosa," Mom added softly, though her words cut like glass. "She wants the footage clean. No noise. No distractions." I swallowed down the heat forming in my chest. "I understand," I finally said, because fighting in the moment has never gotten me anything but gaslit. But I didn't sleep. Not because of anger, not yet, but because something old and familiar was stirring. A pattern. I scrolled through old Christmas photos on my phone. Mia with a lopsided bow, Theo laughing so hard his whole face scrunched, wrapping paper everywhere. Nothing about those pictures was perfect, but they were ours. My job is to make things look good. Not fake, not airbrushed, not sterile. The next morning, my dad texted, "Don't take it personally." By noon, my doorbell rang. When I opened it, the whole committee was there. Mom, Dad, my younger brother Zach, and his new girlfriend, Brooke. A cluster of beige coats and stiff expressions, like they'd held a meeting about me in the car. Brooke stepped forward first. She was stunning in an engineered, curated way. Perfect hair, perfect neutral palette, a beige coat that probably cost more than my month of groceries. She looked me up and down, then passed me at Mia's colorful paper chain. "So," she said with a bright, empty smile, "you're the one who keeps messing up the family brand." My stomach dropped, but I kept my face calm. Mom's lips were tight, pale. "Rosa, you made me feel terrible last night. You were so cold." "I said 2 words," I reminded her quietly. "I said I understand." Dad sighed heavily. "You're always closed off. We're trying to communicate." Zach shifted his weight, adjusting his watch like he was posing for a product shot. "Rosa, seriously, it's just one Christmas. Brooke arranged a photographer and a food stylist. Kid noise. Ruins the aesthetic." My jaw clenched. "They're my children." Brooke stepped in again with that polished influencer tone. "We're building something clean and cohesive. You, as an art director, should get that. The feed matters." Then Mom's expression cracked. Not emotionally, but strategically. "There's also a budget issue," she admitted. "Hosting costs money. And Rosa, you've always been generous." There it was, the real ask. "How much?" I said. Mom flinched as if my bluntness were an attack. "Don't be rude, but $2,000 would really help. Food, florals, and just a small stipend for the photographer." Dad added quickly, "We want you there, just you, no kids." Brooke chimed in, "We can do a separate kid event in January, something chill, minimalist." At that moment, Theo wandered into the hallway behind me, hair sticking straight up, clutching his stuffed triceratops, eyes still foggy from sleep. "Pancakes?" he asked softly. Brooke's smile froze. She glanced at his pajama pants, his mismatched socks, his bed hair, all wrong for her brand. I stepped sideways to shield him from their looks. "Go sit, sweetheart. I'll make them soon." He toddled back to the kitchen. I faced my family, the ones who supposedly loved us, and suddenly everything in me quieted. "I'll think about it," I said. "Today would be ideal," Mom pushed. "We have deposits." Zach lifted his chin. "Friends don't let friends miss out." "Family," Dad corrected. "Family," Zach echoed, like he was posing with the word. I met their eyes one by one. "Right, family." Then I closed the door. The latch clicked, and I pressed my forehead against the cool wood, listening to my own heartbeat. Steady, heavy, awakened. Behind me, Mia hummed an off-key Jingle Bells while looking for sprinkles. Theo tapped a spoon against the table. The apartment sounded like life, imperfect and beautifully human. But beneath their little voices, a truth whispered. This wasn't about Christmas, not anymore. Something had shifted, and none of us were going back. The house felt strangely still after they left. Not quiet, but clear. Like the dust had finally settled on something I'd been refusing to look at for years. For most of my adult life, I'd carried my family's chaos like another unpaid job. When I was 19, Dad's contractor skipped permits and the fine arrived with a red stamp. I emptied my savings account to help. When Zach totaled his first car because he'd never changed the oil, I bought him a used Civic and pretended it didn't shred me inside. When my parents said their phone plan was too expensive, I absorbed it. Then came Netflix, Hulu. Apple Music somehow populated with Dad's iPad and Mom's playlists. It's just streaming, Mom would say, smiling like she was giving me a favor. You don't even notice. I noticed. I always noticed. But noticing meant admitting something I wasn't ready to. My family only liked me generous when it benefited them, and quiet when it didn't. That afternoon, the group chat, renamed Family Immediate, right after I paid Dad's surprise tax bill last spring, lit up. Mom, Rosa, don't make this difficult. Dad, we need an answer by 3. Zach, Venmo works. Brooke, sending inspo. 3 beige squares popped up. A white-on-white table, bleached pine cones, unlit candles arranged in rigid symmetry. A Christmas that looked like it belonged in an upscale medical clinic, not a home. I stared at the images, feeling something cold rise in my throat. Then I opened my receipts folder. I keep everything now, not for revenge, for clarity. Photos of charges I covered, invoices paid on their behalf, streaming services, Zach's accidental Adobe Creative Cloud purchases, the $218 template pack charged at 3 a.m., the Shopify payments he promised to reimburse when his brand took off. I screenshotted a tidy grid of them and dropped it in the chat. Me. Just a reminder. Mom typed back in less than 10 seconds. Mom, tacky. Zach. We said we'd pay you back. Me. Like the Adobe fees, or the phone plan, or the Shopify charges? Brooke. Money is leverage over family, Rosa. That isn't the vibe. I exhaled slowly. The vibe. That word again. The word they used to shrink everything real until only their comfort remained. My hands stopped shaking. A strange calm washed over me, like a lens snapping into focus. I typed, me. I'm not paying for a photographer to document a Christmas my children are forbidden to attend. Silence swallowed the chat. A bubble appeared, disappeared, appeared again, then stopped. Mom called immediately. I let it ring out. A text arrived instead. Mom, you're exaggerating. Be an adult. My breath hitched, not in hurt, but recognition. They didn't want communication. They wanted compliance. So I finally delivered something my family never expected. Boundaries. I typed slowly, deliberately. Me. I'm removing you from my phone plan at the end of the billing cycle. I'll send the transfer PIN. I'm changing my Adobe password. Any unauthorized access will be reported. Streaming accounts will be signed out today. I won't fund events I or my kids are excluded from. If anything is charged to my business cards again, I'll file fraud. Send. 3 dots sputtered. Then, Dad. Boundaries? Zach. Dude. Zach. Over $2,000? Me. Over a pattern. Mom. You're making this hostile. Mom. Your children will hear about this. I looked over at Mia sprinkling sugar onto toast like she was decorating a galaxy. No, not anymore. Me. They'll hear I protected them. I set the phone face down. Right then, the doorbell rang again. My breath dropped into my stomach. I opened the door, expecting another attack, but my family stood there like 4 statues carved out of winter air. Mom opened her mouth. I raised my hand. No. My voice surprised even me. Quiet, but firmer than I'd ever heard it. I'm done being the bank, the designer, the quiet one, the emergency contact. I'm done making myself small so you can feel organized and superior. Brooke's brows lifted, offended. Zach clenched his jaw. Dad stepped forward with soft guilt. Rosa, think about the bigger picture. I am. I closed the door on them gently, almost lovingly, because anger wasn't what lived in me now. Clarity was. Inside, Mia and Theo were humming old holiday songs in charming disharmony. Their voices filled the apartment like light creeping under a closed curtain. For the first time in years, the air inside my home felt breathable. The peace lasted 6 hours. At 9 p.m., Dad texted, "Dad, phones aren't working. Did you do this?" I hadn't touched anything. I called the provider. Turns out Zach had attempted to order a new iPhone at 3 a.m. using my account, using my billing info, which automatically deactivated Mom's SIM. The shipping address? His apartment. I canceled the order, placed a fraud alert, locked the entire account, then sent the screenshot to the group chat. Zach. Petty. Zach. Illegal. Me. It's illegal because you did it. 5 minutes later, Adobe emailed me. New login attempt from Zach City. Again. I logged everything out, added two-factor authentication with my physical key, and messaged him. Me. If you need design software, buy it. He responded with a vomiting emoji. Around 5 p.m., as the early winter darkness settled outside, someone knocked. I opened the door to find Brooke standing there, alone, wrapped in another beige coat. Her cheeks were red, from cold, from embarrassment, or from outrage. I couldn't tell. "I don't want a scene," she said. "Then stop creating them here." She glanced past me. Inside, Mia and Theo were dancing to Jingle Bell Rock, tripping over their own feet, laughing in wild harmony. Something flickered in her eyes. Not warmth, but recognition. Like she was seeing a world she couldn't control. "You're protective," she said. "But you're damaging something important." A brand offered to sponsor the dinner. They want clean lines. Kids with sticky hands don't fit. "They're not props, Brooke." I didn't say they were props. "You didn't have to." A long beat passed. Cold air moving between us. She swallowed. "You could style the kid day," she offered cautiously. "If you want, just shorter, controlled." I met her gaze. "My kids don't exist to be edited." Brooke looked away, ashamed or irritated. I couldn't tell. "We won't ask you for anything else," she murmured. "I know," I said, and I closed the door. A few hours later, as I tucked the kids into bed, Mia tugged my sleeve. "Mommy, did we do something wrong? Grandma said we're a lot." My heart cracked open. I knelt beside her bed. "You were loud," I whispered. "You were silly, brilliant, yourself. That's not a lot. That's perfect. A grown-up made a hurtful choice. That's on them, not you." She nodded slowly and curled against me. Theo climbed on top of both of us, turning us into one warm heap of tangled limbs and small breaths. And right there, I made a quiet promise. The second anyone makes my children feel like they're too much, we're done with that person. I used to think the worst thing a parent could do was ignore you. But I've learned something sharper. It's worse when they remember you only when you're useful. The morning after the sterile, influencer-level Christmas my family curated, without me or my kids, my phone rang at 8 a.m. "Mom!" I let it ring once, twice. The third time I answered. She didn't bother with greetings. "We had to put catering on a credit card," she snapped. "You should reimburse us. You know Christmas is important to this family." There it was. No apology, no reflection, just the expectation that I would bend. Dad's voice cut in from the background. "Your brother paid the photographer, Rosa. The least you can do is support the team." A notification pinged. Zach had sent a request through Venmo. $1,850. Christmas team support. I laughed. Actually laughed. A soft, disbelieving exhale. "I'm not joining your content co-op," I said. Mom gasped like I'd slapped her. Dad muttered something about respect. Zach sent a string of eye-roll emojis. I hung up before they could twist my sanity any further. But the consequences didn't stop with phone calls. Relatives began posting vague quotes online. Certain people forget where they came from. Family means compromise, not selfishness. Kids learn from your attitude. One cousin messaged privately, "Your mother is telling people you ruined Christmas. Also, Zach said you owe him a camera." A camera? The man who used my Adobe account like a chew toy claimed I owed him? I responded with a single skull emoji. She sent back 3 laughing ones. By mid-afternoon, someone else knocked. But this time it wasn't my parents. It was Aunt Linda, my mom's older sister, the quiet rebel of the family. Gray scarf, messy bun, a box of gingerbread under her arm. "I told your mother she was wrong," she said simply as I let her in, "and that if she's embarrassed, she should reflect on why." I didn't realize how tightly I'd been holding my shoulders until they dropped. She stayed for an hour, listened more than she spoke, watched Mia and Theo set up a glow stick dance routine. And when she left, I felt something loosen in the center of my chest. Not happiness, but the first breath of freedom. After she left, I decided to clean up the mess that had been building for years. Not the physical mess, the financial one, the emotional one. I logged into every account Zach had ever accessed and changed every password. I closed the business card he kept borrowing. I froze my credit. I removed my parents from the phone plan and sent them the transfer PIN. Then I gathered every item they'd left at my place over the past year. A ring light, a tripod, 2 sweaters Mom said she forgot, Zach's external hard drive, and a tote bag full of props Brooke had brought during her attempt at authentic lifestyle content. I placed everything neatly on their porch with a note. Returning your things, please return my piece. That night, after the kids fell asleep in a tangle of limbs and plush toys, I opened a private folder on my laptop. Inside, I started dropping screenshots. Dates, receipts, charges, moments. Not to weaponize, but to see. Patterns only look chaotic until you lay them out in a straight line. The next morning, Mia woke me by shouting, "Snow!" It was barely a dusting, thin and lopsided, but to her, it might as well have been a blizzard. Theo ran outside in his dinosaur slippers, arms extended like he could catch winter itself. He stuck his tongue out, tasted one snowflake, and declared, "It tastes minty." We opened presents slowly. No cameras, no staged smiles, no beige palette, just us. For the first time in years, Christmas felt like breathing. Later that afternoon, a cousin sent photos of the influencer Christmas my family threw, the one without us. A white tablecloth like a sterile sheet, candles aligned with military precision, pine cones bleached so pale they looked like ghosts. Everything perfectly symmetrical, perfectly lifeless. On the spoon's reflection, I saw the empty space where my children would have been. It didn't hurt this time. It felt clarifying. Then came the twist none of them expected. Around 4 p.m., my banker called. "Ms. Stevenson, we need to verify some unusual activity." My stomach tightened. What kind of activity? "Multiple attempts to use your business credentials for purchases totaling approximately $6,400. My blood went cold. "And the IP address?" I asked. Static crackled. Then the banker said, "It's coming from your brother's residence." I closed my eyes. Of course this was happening. Cut off one pipeline, they dig another. The bank froze the account automatically, filed the internal fraud report, said law enforcement might contact me. When I ended the call, I sat very still on the couch. Not shaking, not angry, just resolved. This was never about Christmas. It was about a system, a structure built on the assumption that I would always be available, always paying, always forgiving, always bending. But something had shifted in me, quietly, irreversibly. I went to the kitchen, where Mia and Theo were constructing a lopsided gingerbread dinosaur. "Mommy!" Theo shouted. "It has 3 heads." "That seems about right," I said. We laughed until we couldn't breathe. Later that night, I wrote something in my journal. Something small, but it felt like the ending I needed. This year, I didn't lose a family. I lost an illusion. And sometimes illusions have to shatter so your real life can finally take shape. When I looked at my kids sleeping, Mia's hair fanned out wildly, Theo hugging his dinosaur like a friend, I felt a steady warmth blooming in my chest. A new beginning, a quieter one, but real. And when my phone pinged with another angry message from my mother, I silenced it without reading. Because for the first time in decades, I didn't owe them anything. Not money, not apologies, not access, not my peace. I only owed my kids one thing, a life where they never have to shrink to fit someone else's perfect vibe. And that starts now.